A lot of the virtual wholesaling is done by people that have already done the physical wholesaling themselves, so they know what to look out for. The second component to virtual wholesalers, they're very good marketers. So which then means they've got their online marketing strategies in place. I find that property wholesaling has been glamorized for most. There's a lot of things that you can get from property wholesaling. However, in today's video, I'm going to unpack 5 things I believe that you really just need to be aware of when you get into wholesaling. The second component of this video is I'm going to talk about virtual wholesaling and what it actually means to be a virtual wholesaler. Welcome to my channel. My name is Genevieve Stafford-Jack. So getting into the 5 things that I believe any property wholesaler needs to have, whether you are a traditional wholesaler or a virtual wholesaler. Firstly, the obvious thing, you need to understand the market. So how much of the market do you understand? And I'm not talking about things from the news. I'm talking about when you go out to look for property, do you know what you are looking for, right? The second thing is when you find the property that you think you are looking for, do you know how to understand and interpret what's happening in that particular market by using reports like TPN, Lightstone, Windeed, etc.? And if you do know that, do you have a method of doing a calculation to actually understand if I negotiate this particular property under market value, how much negotiation goes into it? And while we're talking about negotiation, how strong is your negotiation skill? So I've got a lot of questions around how much do you actually understand the property market? Because I found that a lot of my understanding was based on the property investing method, where you go in and you actually understand what property investing is. And because you actually understand property investing, then you route onto the strategy that's going to make you money. Some people have money at the bank, they go, they get a bond, they buy a property, they buy and rent it out. Boom, they're making money, right? There's other people like myself that needed to get into property investing, but use the creative finance methods. And namely, it's those type of methods where people say, oh, no money down deal, pay little to no money. So much of it is commercialized. I promise you, some days I want to cry when I hear it because of the hard work that actually goes into wholesaling. But never mind that. The no money down strategies. There's your wholesaling, your joint ventures, your back-to-back deals, your installment sale agreements, your rent-to-rent, and the list goes on. There's a lot of options. But again, all of that is based on when you found that property, how did you actually understand the property market in and around that particular property valuation? And do you have the reports? And these reports, the Lightstone and TPN reports that I'm talking about, are the reports that is extracted from the deeds office to actually say how much people are actually paying for the property versus what Property 24 says, how much people are advertising their property for. So we need to actually draw from all of these different avenues to actually understand what goes into property investing. Point number 2, I do believe that you need to have a certain personality that goes with wholesaling. And here's why I mean that. Remember the negotiation point? I have seen somebody who's so suave, I've met at a networking event, is a property investor, told me that he's been doing this for a while, and he was one of the investors that was interested in a deal that I found. However, what I found when we were on the field, we had gone in, I shared with him how I negotiated, I gave him all the information before getting there, right? He had 48 hours to go through it. When we got there, I saw somebody who I admired stumping over his feet, and I was like, what just happened? I'm not throwing stones, but I'm sharing a reality of life. And then again, take me with a pinch of salt if you need to, because I'm sharing with you what I've seen, not what I've heard, right? So this guy, I was like so stumped that he got himself all fumbled. And I promise you, I interjected because of my relationship with the real estate agent. And I was able to say, oh, you know, my business partner's having such a bad day today. Please just excuse him. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. we maneuvered away around things. And I said, okay, sit down and share with us about your offer to purchase. Explain to us line for line. That was my method of buying time. But the flip side is, after the real estate agent was able to go down through that offer to purchase, my hero that was sitting next to me collected himself and actually said, I don't know what came over me. And that got me thinking, maybe it wasn't so much that he's not a good negotiator. Maybe the state of what's happening with us that particular day can actually affect us in being out there in the field. And I questioned that in my mind for a while. And I said, you know what? Let me let that go, because there's going to be a day I may just trip over my very own tongue. Point number 3, there's legal stuff. The reality of wholesaling that they speak about in America, you go, you get the deal, you have it under contract, and then you sell the deal by passing it on to the actual buyer. In South Africa, there is legal stuff. There is a thin line between love and nausea. I would love that you go out and read the Property Practitioners Act, okay? Because when you actually understand what happens in the Property Practitioners Act, you will then understand that there's a very thin line between wholesaling and actually selling property. Here's a quick example. What if you get a contract? What if you get a deal? And then you sign this offer to purchase, and then you go and advertise. Do you actually have a license to do that? And the second component is, do you actually own the property to do that? So yes, I know there's strategies that you can work around it, but how many people know the workaround strategies? How many people know to tap into superpowers? And this is some of the stuff that I learned in the classroom. And this is what I stress in my classroom. In this very week, I'm literally today, the 3rd day, running a property wholesaling course. And I've been sharing with my students, guys, whatever you need to do, keep on listening to that Property Practitioners Act video that I did together with an attorney that I've worked very closely with, right? And an attorney's not going to bullshit anybody and say, oh yeah, I worked with Gina, and then she didn't. So I'm just saying, let's get our legal stuff in order. So your job would be read the Property Practitioners Act. And if you say to me, no, Jen, tell me it, then it means that you are not in the space of actually wanting to learn. You may be wanting to be spoon-fed. And I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but why I encourage you to read it? Because the worst information that you can get is secondhand information. So always investigate the things that you actually learn and understand, whether from videos, whether from training, or educators like myself. Verify the information. This is why I find that my courses, if they are not practical and you don't apply it, I could feed you a whole lot of BS and you'll be able to take it to the bank. But if I say to you, go and do this, if I show you what I'm doing and I say, go and do this, and then expand on it, it becomes a very different conversation. Point number 4, there are hidden costs. You know, this is the one thing where I want to have a slight vent. There are hidden costs. Some people want to get into wholesaling and not even pay for the education. And I'm like, come on, guys. Please, come on, guys. We already had the fees must fall. My one question, because I'm not going to labor this point, but I need you to understand. I want you to understand the cost of investing in your education is paramount, because you want to work from a point of knowing. You know, I've given away coaching. I've given away training. And 95% of people I've given away this to have not succeeded. 5% of that 100% of people have said thank you. They've pushed, they've prodded, they've come back to me to ask questions. They made themselves available. They came to class. They showed up. And then I realized you can give out information for free, but somebody will not recognize a diamond in a rough. Why? Because it's not shaped as the way they perceived it to be. There are hidden costs in wholesaling, and some of those hidden costs would be, can you go and buy a TPN report? Could you get an investor's report? Could you be able to put all this information that you have found on a proposal? Would you, if you don't have a car, jump into a taxi to get from point A to B? So there are those small hidden costs. And that is just the reality of life. Point number 5. Wholesaling is not an overnight something that you're going to get rich in. It's not. It requires patience, it requires time, it requires skill, and it requires you to get out of your comfort zone. And in terms of virtual wholesaling, let's go into that bonus point. What I have found that whenever I've listened to anyone on YouTube, a lot of the virtual wholesaling is done by people that have already done the physical wholesaling themselves, so they know what to look out for. The second component to virtual wholesalers, they're very good marketers. So which then means they've got their online marketing strategies in place. So they've got a brand new level to them. They don't only just know about property and what they've been doing in property. They're also online marketers, because a lot of the online marketers know how to capture the leads that are out there. They know how to create funnels where people will see a headline, go into that funnel, and at the end of that funnel become somebody who is a potential seller or a potential buyer. They already know how to navigate and start asking questions to qualify the sellers. They already know that information, and my question is, how would they know about it if they don't have the experience? So in terms of virtual wholesaling, like I shared with you, all of these things that I've shared in this video, including these hot tips, I do believe that virtual wholesalers have a one breed of people above the rest. I don't know if that's a good comparison to make, but they're a breed of people, so to speak, that has got more than property marketing about them. They've got internet. They've got internet marketing about them. The whole online skill that many people covet. And you know what? To get that skill and actually understand the full end-to-end skill, that in itself takes time. So my question is, when you are looking at virtual wholesaling or traditional wholesaling, what is screaming out to you where you are? Is it the whole idea of making money quick, or listening to the concepts of how people make it sound like it's so easy? I've had 2 deals that I remember vividly, that if I had access to money, those deals would have been closed long ago. But I've had property investors hana so much about 800,000 in equity in a deal because they were too afraid of what they didn't know. And again, granted, we all can have that perspective. But in wholesaling, even the best deal, you may just be disappointed with. Is your heart open enough for that? If you are interested in property investing and wanting to understand property investing before you get into wholesaling, go down into the description below. There's a 3-hour training. If you like short videos like this, I will put up a playlist in this corner called Getting Started in Property Investing. So I'd love to see, how are you going to educate yourself and bring yourself up to standard before you actually get into wholesaling?